Well, Luke, you're back. It feels like 5 minutes since I last saw you. How does it feel?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant to be back, and lots of things going on at the club to try to, improve the facilities and try to match that experience better with the new sound system, which is incredible. So it's lovely to see lots of activity, and it's brilliant to be back and see yourself and all the staff and the players.
So much to get through, so we'll get straight into it. The first I think we need to address is Ruben Rodriguez's departure. I know you loved working with Ruben. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I did, and he's just such an incredibly exciting player, and I think really for me the most incredible achievement was for myself and Ruben to be able to work together, and for Ruben to work as hard as he worked and to provide the magic that he did as well, and to be so robust and play so many games, and just a privilege to work with. I'm very, very sad to see him go. I'm very happy for him to be able to express himself at a higher level and showcase what he can do, and of course a contract is going to be good for him and his family. So I'm very, very sad and very happy at the same time.
A man that comes in a potentially a similar position. I don't know what your plans are for David McGoldrick yet, but not a bad signing on paper, certainly.
Yeah, I think it's incredible signing. I think that he's a guy with incredible quality. He's got an aura about him that is really brilliant for the staff and for the players, and we're very, very excited to try to integrate him with what we're trying to do, and look forward to seeing the quality he has and what he can provide for all of us.
Do you have any idea where he fits into the system you're planning for next season yet, or are you going to use these next 6 weeks to really identify that?
Well, I mean, we have a lot of attacking positions, really. The wide players are involved in many actions to create and score goals. We have midfield players that were very high with the numbers in terms of goal creation and scoring goals. Strikers with very good records of scoring goals. So I think there's a number of positions that David can play with the quality that he has. And I think we have a way of playing that will help him to be able to show what he's best at.
It's a unique situation with David, obviously, as he's a fan of the club. He's coming back. I think it was 19 years since he left, and now he's back. How valuable is that for you to have somebody not only of his experience and quality, but somebody with an obvious passion for the football club as well?
Yeah, it's a dream to have a player of that quality is already on its own is amazing, and then to have a player with that quality that is so motivated to play for the club and have such a great feeling for the club already is like a dream. It's really like pinch yourself time. So we're really, we're so excited about this, and we look forward to working out the best position for David to play and how everyone going to fit around. So it's going to be a good pre-season from that regard.
Another player coming from League One with bags of quality and bags of experience is Dan Crowley, a name I'd imagine that you have been aware of ever since he was coming through at Arsenal. You've had about a day and a half to see him sort of beginning his preparations for the season. You happy with what you've seen so far, and are you happy with that signing?
Yeah, you're right. A guy I've known about him as a player for a long time, and I've been in two different clubs where we were close to probably to try and sign him. Really, I was on a list of players with this type of quality, and that's what he has. He has brilliant quality with the ball, and he can play different positions as well. Now we need to try to help him to understand how we play and what is really important to us, and add that with his own individual skills, and hopefully we have a brilliant partnership there.
At 25, and having looked at his CV with some fantastic clubs and moves to Europe, etc., it seems almost like maybe this could be an opportunity for him to really find his home, especially at a club which really favours technical players and players who love being on the ball. Do you see that as something that you'd love to encourage in Dan to settle here and to really bring the best out of him?
Yeah, I really, really hope so, because I think he's a guy that had such an incredibly good start to his career that sometimes everything is coming to you quite in a easy way, because you're so gifted and you progress nice and move from one big club to another big club, and then you hit a tough time, which can happen to any player, and the opinion of one manager or another manager is different. And I feel like he'd been through a lot in a short space of time, been through almost like an entire season's worth of up and down in a short space of time, really. And now I'm hoping that he feels like there's a club where he can really express himself and work very hard and buy into everything that we're trying to do. And I think that these are all the things that we looked at when we tried to sign Dan. I think Dan feel in the same way, I hope. And now we need to do the hard work and give him the platform to show what he's really all about.
Any supporters, I'm sure, will be absolutely transfixed by your words, Luke, but they'll be also potentially hearing the new PA system being tested behind us, and if ever there was evidence that it's a lot more powerful than the old one, it might be this interview. Another player that you and I know Ryan Harley know well, Will Randall.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about him.
Well, I mean, when I was at Swindon a long time ago, when we were a League One team at the time, Will was coming through the youth team and was very, very exciting player, very good player. And I think his debut his first team debut was away, I think, at Preston, and he played very well in a Preston team that beat us actually in a playoff final with Beckford and Joe Garner. It was a good, strong team with Bailey Wright as the captain. This was like a team of men, and Will was 18, I think, and he really equipped himself brilliantly, and probably too well, because he got a move then to Wolves, and was like an impossible for him to turn the move down. But of course, Wolves really very, very big club, lots of competition for places and so on, and probably struggled to make the big breakthrough. And so now he pick up a lot of experience in league football, and he's developed, obviously, since I worked with him at 18, he's developed physically, he's developed mentally, he's developed his understanding of the game, and he's been through some tough times as well, which is great because it helped to shape the character. So, we're really happy again. We're really happy he's with us, and he's going to add to us for sure.
Similarly to another man we'll talk about in a bit, Jody Jones, he's been an out-and-out winger in his career for the most part, but he did speak to me when he first signed about obviously working under Matt Gray at Sutton, a very disciplined system, that he's learned a lot about the defensive side of the game. So do you see him as potentially being adept at playing at wing back as well as maybe inside as well, similarly to Jody?
Yeah, for sure. I think, because he does have really good knowledge of football and he loves football, he's like, really, really thinks about the game, and he can definitely play in different positions for sure. And I think, we want to pride ourselves on how we defend, as much as I know we have a lot of the ball and we score a lot of goals, but to concede the second least was really a big thing for us, and we were desperate to concede the least in the league. That was a big thing for us. So I think it's great that he has that experience of being able to understand the defensive role as well.
Moving on to the goalkeeper department, Sam Slocum obviously signed a new contract, which is fantastic. We've also brought in Aidan Stone from Port Vale. I know Tom Wheel has had a big part in bringing him to Meadow Lane. But as an overview of the goalkeeper department, Tiernan Brooks potentially going out on loan soon. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with Tiernan, because he had his opportunity in the first team and done brilliant. And he got an international call up, and that probably was the moment then Archie came in the team, and there was no problem with how he played, and he equipped himself brilliant. But I think the positive with this is giving him a platform to show he can play first team football, and now he has I think a great opportunity to have a good loan under pressure, in a good league and a good club. So that's really positive. I think having Sam with us again is amazing, because he had a brilliant season, concede so few goals and help us so much with build-up. And of course the personality of Sam as well is amazing. I know he's going to help the whole group around to be professional and to stay positive and to have a good standard all the time. And we now have Aidan. It look really like an exciting prospect, and very, very happy with the goalkeeper department. And of course we have the master of Tom Will, who is already doing so many brilliant things already so early on in this morning we had an incredible meeting that was all hosted and organised by Tom. So this department, we're really excited.
And with Aidan, it's a fantastic age, early 20s. He's got 80, I think, senior appearances already under his belt and so many years ahead of him. His peak years are so far on the horizon, it's unbelievable. So it feels like it could be a long-term prospect for us as well.
Yeah, we really hope so. That's how we're looking as well. Like, young guy with already the experience of somebody, 4 years, 5 years senior to him. And, he's really very motivated guy and really wants to do well. So I think, it's a brilliant business from us.
Technically a new signing, Jody Jones, hasn't bothered turning up this week. Can you explain why?
Well, yeah, Jody, of course, had a busy summer with international duty and had the game against England, of course, and amazing experience. But we have to, remember that Jody needs some downtime with the family, recover a little bit, and come back feeling really fresh, rather than going into the pre-season with a hangover from the whole Wembley and playoffs, and then straight into international with big games. So he's going to be a few more days and then going to be with us.
So he's likely to be around next week when the friendlies get going, is that right?
Yeah, I think the first one will be too soon, but I expect him to be involved after that.
Aaron Nemane is the man of the moment at the minute on social media. Can you give us an update on him?
Yeah, I think that, we're very close, and we have to make sure that Aaron is happy and that the club are happy with the agreement, and these things can take time, and you have to remember in the summer people are away at different times, and I'm not too concerned. I'm really optimistic that this all gets sorted very soon.
Always nice to see some fresh young faces around the group in pre-season. It's been Luther Munikandafa and Lucien Mahovo so far that we've seen out there. What sort of role will those two have to play over the next 6 weeks?
Well, we will see, because pre-season, I'm sure both guys are going to be with us and play minutes in the friendlies, and then from that we can probably make a better assessment, like if they're going to stay with the group or alone is really ideal for them. But we're really pleased with both guys being with us and really applying themselves brilliantly in pre-season training so far.
So you've got your new signings, you've got your retained players, a couple of youth lads thrown in there. How happy are you with the blend of new faces with the players that were here and experienced what we achieved last season? Is that the right ratio for you, do you think?
Yeah, I think somewhat. We're of course really disappointed to lose Ruben, because was such a key player, and would love to have Ruben now to join in with the new players as well. But of course that situation has moved beyond us now. So we have many players that played incredibly well last season, like really outstandingly well. So we have to imagine that those guys are going to be able to step up this level. And I'm very confident with the new signings that we made that we're adding quality and experience to the group as well. So I think we have a good blend at the moment, and of course we need to look in pre-season and have a good feel where we are, and as to whether we need to bring more bodies in.
As successful as we are last season, and as fantastic, we had so many brilliant individual performances, a number of players took quite a while to adjust to the style of play and your philosophy. It interests me how you go about integrating your philosophy and tactics onto new arrivals at this stage of the season. Do they go on the journey throughout the 6 weeks of just learning it sort of organically through training, or do you offer extra insight and extra sessions, meetings with them to try and implement things?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think is absolutely true that it takes the players some time to adapt to some things that I like and things that I don't like, and that's true of most managers. Some systems are easier, some more difficult. But for sure, it took a while. I agree with a lot of the players to adapt, and then I think they adapted very well in the end. We saw when we brought players in, like John Bostock with huge quality and Jody Jones with huge quality, but still a period of adapting. Now I think we have a great beginning, because many players have experienced already. Many staff have experienced already what we're going to try to do. So we can hopefully speed up the process. We have many coaches now, because already I'm hearing players talking to new players, expect this, be ready for this, and so on. And this is really brilliant. And this is why, you know, certain players, we don't always see the stuff that they add to the group out there on a match day when we come to the stadium to watch. But on a day-to-day basis, some of these guys not only are brilliant footballers, but are brilliant communicators, brilliant team players, are really helping to make people feel like they can understand things quickly and be successful. So I'm hoping we're ahead of where we were last year, and that we can try to speed up the process.
Squad depth. You've got a lot of versatile players in the squad, and as you said earlier about players like David McGoldrick, you know, you're going to be taking some time to work out what the best system is and individual roles. But generally, at this point, are you pleased with the depth you've got across all positions and all areas?
Yeah, I think so. We don't want to have players that are spending long periods not being involved. I think is awful for a player. I think it's terrible for the atmosphere around the place to have players that are, you know, backed up a long way behind 3 or 4 players and, you know, hoping for a miracle to get near the team. It's impossible to keep your level very high when you have this type of feeling that you're not involved. So we don't want too many. Too few is dangerous. So having players that are versatile is really important, because we potentially can move the pack around and still retain what we are. But of course, always a balance with this scenario, because you have to have the, you know, the near perfect number, which is, you know, is difficult. But we done last season, and we have to try to have the same mentality this season.
How much is 7 subs going to be a refreshing change for you next year? Yeah,
I think so. I mean, look, we many times had no goalkeeper. I think the majority of the games we had no goalkeeper on the bench. So we have 5 outfield players. Now we will almost definitely have a goalkeeper and 6. So we have 1 extra outfield player. In reality, often we have 1 extra outfield player to what we had last season. But this is huge, you know, because it can be a player that can, you know, can be a completely different option to all of the other players on the bench. That last season you had to make a call to leave somebody completely out. So yeah, more options for me is fantastic, and I think it gives us a chance to have more dynamic ways of changing the game off the bench.
You're going to have some decisions to make in terms of how you approach cup competitions early on as well. Obviously Lincoln City, which is a great draw in the first round of the Carabao Cup. I'm sure there'll be a good crowd here for that. But also the EFL Trophy kicks into action fairly early on as well. Are you seeing those as opportunities to manage your squad, or will you be taking them very seriously in terms of first team competition? You will field your best team?
Yeah, very seriously. We want to try to win. We really do. And I think that I think it's fair to say that depending on different factors with the squad and your position in the league, you know, your decision making can be warped depending on different things. But as a rule, we are trying to win all the games. Genuinely, we're trying to win every game. And last season we performed very poorly in the cup, except for you know, the cup at the very end of the playoffs, which I don't think we performed at our best. But ultimately, we won the 2 biggest cup games, really. So we're going to have the same approach, that we want to take it very seriously, the cup competitions. But yeah, of course, there will be probably some changes, more than we may be making a league game.
It was all a bit of a whirlwind for you last summer. You arrived, I think it was a couple of weeks before pre-season was scheduled to begin. Are you doing anything differently this summer? Obviously now having your feet under the table, having your backroom staff assembled and having more of a knowledge of the club. Are there any big changes or subtle changes, interesting changes that you've made?
I think that the big thing is that I had a big job to try to convince people. You know, I had to convince the staff and the players of my methods and what I wanted to try and achieve, and the way I wanted to achieve it, because it's just natural that you have a previous experience that you thought was correct, or you have your own personal opinion on what you think is correct, and it's my job to try to convince that people. Then throughout the season, I try to add to people's workload, really, more things that they can do to help us make a good process. More people with more knowledge of what I want, more people with the tools to deliver what I want, more people with the confidence to deliver what I want with real belief and energy. And now the big difference I feel is that I think for the majority are convinced that I have a way that is okay and can be successful. So we're well in front of where we were, because already staff are much more capable to deliver my message. I'm hoping many players are much more capable to deliver my message physically to play and to deliver my message to new players. So I'm really optimistic that will speed up our process and bring a bit more reassurance to people and less anxiety.
It all starts next Tuesday at Nuneaton, and Stoke and Forest visit in consecutive weekends. Are you happy with the overall pre-season schedule that you've got in front of you?
Yes, it is quite similar to the last one. I think the big difference, we played Baseford, I think, on the third day of pre-season, and it for me was a bit scary. It was so early, like I didn't have a chance to really give any sort of message to people. So just a bit more time to lead into the first game for me, and the rest is very, very similar, and I'm really happy with that.
What will you be looking for in the Nuneaton friendly specifically? Because that is still very early on, and presumably you won't have had an opportunity to work too much on tactical stuff, although I know you'll be getting that sort of content into sessions already.
Yeah, well, we would be doing 2 sessions a day up until Nuneaton. We will have a training session before the game as well. So I think this is a good number of sessions for me to be able to get some messages across. But again, a lot of the players will already know certain things that are like completely non-negotiable. Like we judge players on certain things, and there's no escaping that. And many of them have lived through that, and they know. So hopefully we can go to the first game feeling far more prepared than we did for any of the pre-season games from last campaign. And with the new players, hopefully, like I say, they have some training sessions with me and the staff, and they have many voices around them to try to help them. So I'm expecting a good performance, a performance that doesn't look like a group of people that have never met each other before.
And playing Stoke and Forest, 2 excellent sides, obviously, early in pre-season, does that help you, do you think, in terms of helping the players sort of understand their defensive duties and their defensive roles? Having off the back of such a free-scoring season where we obviously conceded very few goals as well, but is it nice to have a big test early on to drill that sort of side of the game into?
Yeah, it's very important, and all the games were planned for specific reasons, and I think that both games are going to be extremely difficult for us, and for top players to be able to make actions that are hard to defend against, and too quick and too skillful, and no problem, but to do the hard work and to try to shut space down and to try to be organised and concentrate, this is free, really. This is just applying yourself correctly and hard work. And then if we're able to build up, and take the ball away from top athletes and smart players that can read situations brilliantly, then that would be a bonus. But for sure, the 2 games are hopefully there for a defensive exercise.
5,000 season tickets have been sold. I know you talked very willingly about the fantastic momentum we felt after the playoff final win. Do you feel the energy around the place? Are you excited for that first match back here against Grimsby? Yeah,
absolutely. I think that we as a group of staff and players have a brilliant connection with the fans. I think that's fair to say. We have a great connection. And I see people all the time, and we talk when I see people in the street, it's brilliant, and there's a great feeling, and we have to now harness that, we have to nurture that, and of course, like I always say, come from us first. We have to show them that we mean business again, and give them something to feel proud of and to buy into, and that's our objective.